All right, stop what you're doing for a second. Because what's coming over the next several days across this country is not something you want to sleep on. I'm talking about a stretch of severe weather that is going to run from this weekend all the way through the final days of May. And when I say severe, I don't mean a few pop-up storms that come and go. I mean damaging winds, very large hail, tornadoes, and flooding rainfall, all at the same time, across a massive chunk of the United States. So if you've got family or friends anywhere from the plains to the Great Lakes, this video needs to get to them. Let's talk about why this is happening, because once you understand the setup, everything else makes sense. Right now, there is a large trough sitting across Western Canada. Think of a trough like a giant dip in the atmosphere. It's where cold air pools up and where storm energy starts to get organized. That trough is going to send a branch of energy diving southward into the Great Basin region, and that's going to kick everything into gear. We're talking about this happening right around May 16th through May 19th, this weekend into early next week. Here's the thing about that setup that makes it so dangerous. When you've got a trough out to the west and a ridge building in the east, that's a textbook, classic mid-spring severe weather pattern for the central United States. It's like setting up a runway. The warm, moist air comes surging northward out of the Gulf of Mexico. The cold air sits up top in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and when those two worlds collide, the atmosphere goes absolutely haywire. That's when you get the big storms. And we're not talking about a one-day event. We are talking about a multi-day marathon of severe weather, day after day after day. So let's walk through this carefully. Today, right now, there's already a severe weather risk in place across parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. That includes the Oklahoma Panhandle and the Texas Panhandle as well. If you're in those areas, storms are going to be ramping up in the late afternoon, especially after about 3 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time. Dinner time is when things could get really active. Hail-damaging winds and a tornado or two are all on the table. These storms will start to fade closer to midnight, but don't let your guard down too early. And here's something I want you to pay attention to. The storm energy in that region today is sitting around 2,000 joules per kilogram. That is a lot of fuel. Any storm that manages to tap into that environment can go severe in a matter of minutes. So you need to have a way to receive alerts. Your phone's weather app alone isn't enough. Make sure you've got multiple alert sources, a weather radio, notifications turned on, something that wakes you up if things go bad overnight. Now Friday, May 15th, the energy shifts. The storm focus moves more toward the Midwest. We're talking southern Iowa, northern Missouri, and eastern Kansas, including the Kansas City metro area. If you live there, Friday is your day to pay attention. The morning is going to start off rainy in parts of Illinois. If you're in Champaign, Urbana, Springfield, or Peoria, you might wake up to rain showers and you'll probably want to grab an umbrella before you head out the door. But the real concern comes in the afternoon and evening hours. That's when storms are going to start firing, and in Iowa especially, things could develop fast. Explosively fast. The Des Moines and Ames area, along I-80 stretching east through Iowa City and Cedar Rapids, all of that corridor needs to be ready. Storm energy values by Friday afternoon are going to be near 2,000 joules per kilogram across a broad area. Same dangerous fuel, same potential for severe storms, all hazards possible, meaning hail, wind, and tornadoes are all threats you need to take seriously. Now, and this is important, Friday night storms will rumble into Wisconsin, northern Illinois, and lower Michigan before things quiet down a bit heading into early Saturday morning. But Saturday is not a rest day. Not even close. Saturday, May 16th, things start quietly enough in the morning. But by the afternoon, you're going to see scattered storms developing across the Central Plains and then pushing into the Midwest. These storms are going to be moving on an overall weakening trend as they push east through Saturday night. But that doesn't mean they aren't capable of producing severe weather before they do. And then Sunday. Sunday is where I really want you to lock in. Sunday, May 17th, we are already looking at what's called an enhanced risk. That's level 3 out of 5 on the severe weather risk scale. That's not a small deal. That enhanced risk is centered across Nebraska, South Dakota, southwestern Minnesota, and northwestern Iowa. Surrounding that, there's a slight risk, level 2 out of 5, that covers the western plains, southern plains, and upper Midwest. So even if you're not in that enhanced zone, you're still in a significant risk area. All hazards are on the table on Sunday. Tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. The whole package. The moisture streaming in from the Gulf is going to be deep and juicy. Dew points climbing into the 60s across the central U.S., and a dry line becoming more active from Kansas down into West Texas. That dry line is like a trigger wire. When storms fire along it, they can go severe almost instantly. And then Monday. Oh, Monday is the day I keep coming back to when I look at these models. Monday, May 18th could be one of those days that ends up being significant in a historical sense. The warm sector, that zone of warm, moist, and unstable air, is going to extend all the way north to Lake Superior and up into Canada. When you see the warm sector that far north in May, you know the atmosphere is loaded and ready to fire. Storm energy on Monday is going to be reaching values around 4,000 joules per kilogram in some areas. Those magenta and violet colors you see on the energy maps, that's what those represent. And even outside of those pockets, we're looking at deep reds and oranges extending all the way up through Wisconsin and Minnesota. The atmosphere is going to be absolutely primed. The severe weather threat on Monday stretches from Canada all the way down to the Gulf Coast, including coastal Texas. That is a massive area. There's an enhanced risk zone from Des Moines down toward Wichita, extending into the Lincoln and Omaha area, and possibly Kansas City as well. And then a slight risk surrounding that stretches from lower Michigan, including the Upper Peninsula, through all of Wisconsin, northern Illinois, and all the way back into North Texas. That is an enormous footprint for a severe weather risk. If you live anywhere in that zone on Monday, and millions of people do, please take this seriously. Make your plans now. Know where you're going to shelter if a tornado warning is issued for your area. Have your alerts set up. Don't wait until Monday afternoon to start figuring it out. Tuesday, May 19th continues the pattern. The threat area shifts slightly east, now covering from Oklahoma City up through St. Louis, Kansas City, Jefferson City in Missouri, and just west of Chicago. It's another widespread, multi-hazard severe weather day. At this point, we're talking 5 straight days of severe weather risk, and it still isn't over. By Wednesday the 21st, Thursday the 22nd, and into Friday, I still expect more isolated severe weather events lining up from the Ohio Valley down to the southern plains. The pattern isn't collapsing, it's just gradually shifting and evolving. And then even by the following weekend, May 23rd and 24th, we're still in an active pattern. This is what I mean when I say marathon. This is not a sprint. This is an extended stretch of weather that demands your attention for the better part of 2 weeks. Now let me take a second to talk about the rainfall side of this because it's really important and it's actually some good news for a lot of the country. The heaviest rainfall through all of this is going to fall across the Midwest. That's where the more widespread storm activity is concentrated over the next 48 hours and into the weekend. The further south and west you go, the more spotty the rainfall gets. But even spotty storms in Texas and the southern plains can pack a serious punch. For the Corn Belt, this is meaningful moisture. A lot of the corn crops that have already been planted are going to get watered in a big way. Some fields are still being planted right now, so hopefully there are some dry windows in between, but overall the moisture situation for the central agricultural belt is looking much improved. Now if you pull up the latest drought monitor, you'll see just how widespread the drought conditions are across the west and the southern tier of the country. There are pockets of extreme and even exceptional drought. Those are the darkest colors on the map, particularly across parts of the west and through portions of the south. But here's the encouraging part. Central Texas is already making some real progress on erasing drought thanks to recent rainfall. The Midwest is largely drought-free right now. The Great Lakes region and interior Northeast are in solid shape. And out in California, some of that drought is starting to get chipped away as well, so the moisture picture is improving in places that needed it most. Now let's shift gears and talk about temperatures, because on top of all this severe weather activity, we've got some serious heat building across this country. Right now, parts of West Texas are either at or threatening record-high temperatures. Amarillo looking at temperatures around 100 degrees today, Dodge City sitting near 97. These are not small numbers for mid-May, and that heat is going to spread. By Friday, Omaha could be touching 95 degrees, potentially a record. Southeastern Nebraska into the mid-90s. Parts of Texas pushing toward 104 degrees near the Childress area. And this is all happening on the same days as the severe weather threat, which tells you just how loaded the atmosphere is going to be with energy and instability. Into the weekend, the 80s start spreading eastward. And by early next week, Monday and Tuesday specifically, we are talking about summer arriving early and arriving hard across a huge part of the eastern United States. Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Lansing, and Detroit could all be touching 90 degrees on Monday. Washington, D.C., New York City, Boston, Pittsburgh, all of you could be looking at record highs in the upper 80s to low 90s by Tuesday. And the overnight low temperatures are going to be just as notable. Friday morning, Tulsa and Oklahoma City are going to see lows around 70 degrees. Dallas-Fort Worth staying in the low 70s overnight. These are tropical-style overnight lows for mid-May. By early next week, that warmth pushes all the way into the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, and the Midwest, with overnight lows in the 60s to near 70 degrees. You might be reaching for the air conditioning even before you go to bed. This warm pattern doesn't break quickly either. The cold front responsible for eventually bringing relief is moving slowly, very slowly. We're not going to see any real cool down arrive until mid to late next week. So the eastern United States is going to be dealing with summertime heat on top of an active, severe weather pattern for the better part of the next week. It's a lot to manage, and it's why staying weather aware every single day right now is so important. Looking further out into the last week of May, the 24th through the 31st, Warmer than normal temperatures are going to stick around, especially the further north you go. Down south along the Gulf Coast and through Texas, there will be more cloud cover and precipitation, keeping temperatures slightly cooler than what they'd otherwise be. And honestly, for areas that are dealing with drought, that's exactly what the doctor ordered. And then as we step into June, and I know June feels far away, but the pattern is already starting to hint at what's coming, the heat is going to ramp back up across the plains, the Rockies, and the West Coast. The east is going to trend more toward normal to below normal temperatures, primarily because cloud cover and precipitation will be more frequent in that part of the country. The wetter ground holds heat less effectively, and that keeps temperatures more in check. Out west, the drier ground heats up faster. That's just simple physics. And that's why we're going to be looking at above normal temperatures building back across the western half of the country as we get into June. One more thing I want to flag for June that's worth watching. There are signals in the models suggesting that the southwest monsoon could start making its presence known. New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, and West Texas could see some early monsoon moisture begin to flow in. If that verifies, it would be fantastic news for drought relief across some of those hardest hit areas. We'll be watching that closely, and I'll keep you updated as that picture becomes clearer. Bottom line, the next several days are going to demand your attention whether you're dealing with severe storms, record heat, or both. Stay connected. Keep your alerts active. Know your plan if a warning is issued for your area, and share this information with the people around you, because the more people who are prepared, the better off everyone is going to be. We'll be covering this storm system day by day as it evolves, breaking everything down in detail so you know exactly what to expect and when to expect it. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of those updates. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.